everybody, welcome back. And as you can see, I'm back in my kitchen dining room combination as I jump from place to place. Who the hell knows when I'll be ready to go ahead and do what I need to do. We're going to, of course, talk about the oldest mass media, and that, of course, is books this week. But before I do that, one of the things I had mentioned is that this course and the subject matter of this course is always constantly changing. There's always crazy things going on that are new. And it's never been more evident than what's going on today. I mean, just in the last couple of years. Even as we were leading up into before the COVID lockdowns, we were seeing some amazing changes. And then even since the COVID lockdowns, it's been amazing to see all the different things that are going on. For example, motion pictures or movies is one of our chapters, probably our biggest chapter that we'll talk about. And when you look at what's going on in the movie industry, it's amazing. Now, something I had predicted, probably going back 10 or 12 years ago, is now finally starting to come about. And what I had predicted is that at any given time, at one time, they were just going to say, you know what? We're not going to just release new movies in the theaters. We're going to release them at home. Pay-per-view had become a very popular thing, especially not only professional wrestling fans, but the biggest fans were UFC and the mixed martial arts. Those pay-per-views, are just through the roof when it came to sales. So it was my understanding, at least what I saw coming, because of you people. Remember, I will say this over and over and over and over again. Nothing drives the changes in mass media the way you young people do. Now, you may think it's not you, but it actually is. All right? It really is. I've mentioned that before, and I'll mention it probably 65 other times before we're done in December. So what I was predicting is that, if this is going back 12 years ago, I says, a new movie will come out. It'll come out on a Friday like a lot of new movies do when they go out in the theaters. It'll cost $25, and you can get it on pay-per-view. Now, of course, it would cost $25 because just like if you say, and I know I probably got some sports fans out there, when you do a UFC pay-per-view, you're not watching by yourself. You got a group of people around and you're all watching together, you have a little party around it, that kind of thing. Well, the same thing with a new first-run movie is that you would get a bunch of people, chase your parents out of the room with it, because a lot of you, like you say, you tell me, I don't watch TV. Yeah, you do. You just don't watch TV traditionally. But for something like this, you would. You'd have, mom and dad's big 65-inch screen, have the couch and the recliners, have your friends over, and then you go ahead and watch the movie. Well, from that 12 years ago, what happened is that a lot of the theater companies, AMC, Bowtie, and others, were making deals with the movie studios, 20th Century Fox, Paramount, and so on, so that movies would still be, because number one, the theater companies still want to be relevant. But number two, a lot of people still like it. There is still something, we'll talk about this in the movie chapter, and this goes back all the way about 90-something years ago with the Great Depression. And what happened is during the Great Depression, if you could scramble up a dime or a quarter, whatever it cost at that time, to go into a movie theater, you can escape your problems of the Depression, get into that darkened theater, and it would be like you were locking yourself out from the outside world. And it really was like that. And you see that even today where people will go to a theater just to get away from it all. You get into that darkened theater, and it's just like you're disappearing from the rest of the planet. And the theaters know that. So they made deals. And then came November of 2019. Some of you may remember this. I know a lot of you are much younger, so it might not have been something that was tailored towards you. But Netflix, of course, got together with one of the most historic movie directors, that, of course, being Martin Scorsese, and they put together the movie called The Irishman. Now, of course, this starred Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Joe Pesci, Ray Romano, just a ton of stars. Even Sebastian Maniscalco has a small part in it, the great stand-up comic. And they decided to do this movie. Now, what they did was this. is for the first 3 weeks of November 2019, it would be in theaters. And it did very well. But after those 3 weeks, boom, it was pulled from all theaters. It was exclusively on Netflix. Now, of course, this was Netflix's way of trying to build some, subscriptions, which at the time, Netflix was starting to go down. The competition was coming in. Disney Plus had that whole package where you got Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN, ESPN Plus. And the competition, Amazon Prime was really starting to come into its own, so there was a lot of competition. Netflix was starting to lose some subscribers. Again, I had mentioned to you guys, I think in my first video, that Netflix actually, right before we went to the break in March of 2020, when we went to the lockdown, my last in-person class with Com-101, we talked about it, and I showed them the article where Netflix was in a little bit of financial trouble for the first time ever. Now, of course, that's all been saved. Of course, once we locked down completely and people were looking for something to binge watch, boom, they went right over to Netflix. If they didn't have Netflix already, they got subscriptions. But with The Irishman, you saw for the first time a first-run movie. Again, it was only 3 weeks from its release that it was immediately now on a subscription service. Well, now, of course, we've got the release of the Cinderella movie on Disney with Sabalas, is that her name? Oh, no, Cabello. The girl, she was with the 5 girls. Remember the 5 girls? Yeah. Cabello is in the new Disney movie, which was released both on Disney and in theaters. And then October 1st, the Many Saints of Newark. And that, of course, is the prequel to The Sopranos. Now, this is also going to be released both in theaters and on HBO Max, which a couple of other movies have also done that. I believe, or like Amazon Prime did the Coming to America 2, the Eddie Murphy movie, where they released it both in theaters and put it on Amazon Prime. So it's going to be interesting to see how long this lasts. If we start to get out of the pandemic, are they going to stop doing this? I can't see them doing that because of you. Young people, this is what you're telling me. I'll never forget when this all first started to happen. It was back around, had to be about 10 years ago, where, if you were watching a TV show that you liked. Now, this is before the subscription services. Now, this is when Netflix, I think, was still just a movie rental where you actually, some of you may remember this, where you actually ordered a DVD. They would mail you the DVD. You would watch it for a certain period of time. Then you would mail the DVD back to Netflix. And I don't think even Hulu might have been around, but it was something like, if I remember Hulu, if you wanted to watch a show from like NBC or ABC or Fox, you had to wait a month because that episode wouldn't show up on Hulu for a month. But basically what was happening is that you young people just said, listen, I work hours. I work crazy hours. I'm 21 years old. I'm 19 years old. I don't, prime time, of course, in television, Monday through Saturday, 8 p.m. to 11 p.m., Sunday from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. And you were just telling them, listen, I work during that time. I work from 8 to midnight, or I work 6 p.m. to 2 in the morning. I don't have time to watch your shows in prime time, but I want to watch your shows and you're not letting me. Yeah, sure, I could get my VCR and record it, or even, with some people using the DVR, but it just wasn't enough. And of course, you guys forced the on-demand. You just said, no, I get home at 2:30 in the morning. I want to watch that show that was on 2 nights ago. I want to watch it now. And that's where the on-demand really started to come around. And even though it does hurt the television ratings, which is what, in television, we'll talk more about this in the TV chapter, but that's how TV makes money, is based on advertising. And when you're not getting as many viewers, you can't charge as much to your advertisers. So the networks were not crazy about it. Even the cable networks, when you're talking about USA Network or the History Channel and all, A&E, they weren't happy about this either. But just, I hate to use this phrase, I can't stand this phrase, but it is what it is. Young people especially, I want to watch it when I feel like it. And you guys pretty much forced the hand when it came to on demand for a lot of these television shows. So TV, movies, everything's constantly changing. Radio, okay? Radio has had as big a change over the last 5 to 10 years. Many of you are not listening to traditional. Now, some of you do. There are some of you out there who, when you drove to school, we're virtual, duh. When you're driving this morning, wherever you were going in your car, yeah, you turned on Hot 97, okay? Or if you're a classic rock fan, you turned on Q1043. Or if you like that elevator music, you turned on 106.7 Light FM, which is still the number one most listened to radio station in New York. Pretty much has been for the last 24 years. A few months here and there, they don't come in first, but most of the time it's Light FM. And that's because of the wide range of older women who, if they're secretaries or if they work in an office, they always have that on their computer. And that's why that rating is always super high. You can walk into any office, a dentist office, a doctor's office, a lawyer's office, an accountant's office, and you'll hear coming out of somebody's computer or through the speakers overhead, you'll hear Light FM because it's safe music to play that everybody can listen to and not be offended or whatever. But anyway, but what a lot of you would do instead is either you plug into your aux jack in your car, or you have the Bluetooth pick it up off your phone. You'll play one of your shows. Now, I personally, I'm Amazon Music. I've always got my Amazon Music on, or I like iHeart. One of the things I like to do, for example, is, I spent 3 years doing morning radio in the 90s on 100.7 Mix FM in Terre Haute, Indiana. And once in a while, I'll just turn that on while I'm in my car in northern New Jersey. Why not? We have the ability to do that. As a matter of fact, I will never forget the first time I recognized that. It was 11 years ago. It was 2010. And my wife and I were dating. We were very much dating for almost a year now. We might have been engaged at the time. Anyway, we were visiting some of her friends who happened to live in my hometown of Lyndhurst. And I'll never forget, there was this great dance music radio station she had, the hostess, she had playing out of her laptop. And this music was great. The DJ was great. I'm like, what radio station is this? It must be like Hot 97 or 105.1. What is it? It was the number one dance music station in Miami, Florida. And she had it coming, and that's when I really started to understand that, wow, radio's changed. But of course, a lot of you don't even listen to radio stations. You'll listen to your subscription service. Or what a lot of people like to do is they'll listen to podcasts. Podcasting is huge right now. Now, anybody, including your own, who does have a podcast out there, you can catch it on Spotify. It's the Mike Eccles Radio Network. The Mike Eccles Music Network. I'll give you a hint, though. You probably won't listen to it because it's me playing 50s and 60s music. That's kind of missing from the radio. That's why I did that podcast. Anyway. If you want to check it out, it's on Spotify, it's on Pandora, it's on Amazon Music, Mike Eccles Music Network. Anyway, podcasting is everywhere. So, the whole landscape has changed so much. So much. Matter of fact, before we even get into the book, let me give you a great example of what else has changed, especially for a lot of young people here, if you're watching it, if you're 18, 19, 20 years old. You probably remember back 15 years ago. Remember that huge DVD collection you used to have? Remember when you were 5 or 6 years old, you had your TV and you had the big wooden cabinet and there were like hundreds of DVDs? Right? Remember that? Well, those days are over. And I'll tell you why. Here's probably the best example. I'm going to have to get my glasses out for this. About 12, 13 years ago, there was a Canadian woman. Her last name is Feist. And she had this one song. Okay? And in the song, she counts down like 1, 2, 3, 4. It was a romantic type of song. It did fairly well on our charts. She actually got to appear on the David Letterman show over on CBS. But she pretty much petered out after this. So 12 years ago, she had one hit. It was a decent hit. Never really made it to the top 20, but it was a decent hit. And then she fell off the charts. And pretty much hasn't been heard from again. Now, if you check out her music, her official music videos on YouTube, none of them have more than 14 million views. Okay? But I want you to check something out. Now that's Debbie Feist. I think it's Diane Feist or Debbie Feist right there. Now some of you may recognize Sesame Street would take music artists, take their hit songs, and they would do parodies for Sesame Street.
1, 2, 3, 4 monsters walking across the floor. I love counting to the number 4. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so now I want you to see something. I want you to take a look. How many views this has had? What's that number? Yeah, that's 908 million. She's almost at 1 billion views with this song. Now remember, her original music videos, none of them has more than 14 million views from 13 years ago. Yet she does this parody on Sesame Street. It's already got 900 million. She's about to hit 1 billion views. Why? Because this is what parents do now. That's why you can have parents who have a 4-year-old don't have a DVD collection. Why? They don't need it. They go to YouTube. How the hell does Feist singing 1, 2, 3, 4 have 908, almost 1 billion views? It's because that's what they'll do, especially, and we're not going to do it now. I'm not playing that stupid baby shark, but we all know how many views that thing got. All right? But that's where we're going today. That's how the landscape has changed. DVD sales are done. Matter of fact, you can't even buy a DVD player anymore. If you can find a DVD player, you're very lucky. Okay? They're done. The landscape has changed completely. All right? And that's why, for your first assignment, I want you to write me a paragraph, at least 5 sentences. This is what I want you to do. I want you to tell me why you took this class and what intrigues you the most about mass media. Okay? Is it the history? Is it where we are now? Is it the future? Whatever it is, minimum 5 sentences, and that's going to be handed to me through email. You're going to email it to me by Thursday at 8 p.m. Now, I may still have a video come out Thursday afternoon. Don't worry about it. You still need to have this assignment in by Thursday at 8 p.m. 1 paragraph, minimum 5 sentences. Why you took this class, and what intrigues you the most about mass media. All right? Now, the next chapter we're going to get into, and I'm going to go into much more detail in my video on Thursday or Friday, whenever I do it, has to do with the oldest mass medium. Now, the interesting part about the oldest mass medium is I thought it was dead. Now, the oldest mass medium, of course, is books. Some of you may remember from Chapter 1 when they talked about, the printing press. Okay? Why am I blanking out all of a sudden? Oh my God, the guy's name is completely blanked out on me. Go into Chapter 1 and tell me, what's that guy's name? With the printing press. Basically, when he invented that in the 1400s, around 1445, it revolutionized. Because up until that point, those who had books were privileged. Because if you had a book, it was handwritten. Up until 1445, if you had a book, somebody actually spent probably about, if you take like our textbook, which is about 400 and something pages, it took them 7, 8, maybe 9 months to handwrite one book. So there weren't many books out there, and they were handwritten. Okay? And that was until we got the printing press. And what that basically was is you got these racks with these little metal type. Okay? And then you'd arrange them all like a page in a book, and you would then lather it up with ink and then press it down onto a piece of paper. Well, there's page 1. Well, there's another page 1. Well, there's another page 1. And that's how the printing press worked. And this way, what took you maybe a day or a couple of hours to write page 1, you had printed out about 55 page 1s. And now let's go on to page 2. So you fix the metal type, lather them up with ink, page 2, page 2, page 2. And so now books were massively produced. That's where we got mass media from, is that you now had books that were massively produced. And the interesting part is that it was produced for everybody. And we'll talk more about that on Thursday or Friday. But the thing that interests me is that ever since books came out, there's always been what looks like something that's going to take it out. Like something's going to eliminate it. Whether it was newspapers, whether it was television or radio or movies or the internet, something's going to wipe out books. Well, by 1998, it looks like books were done. Because by 1998, we were full-blown not only into the internet, but now we had video games that we already had things like Nintendo, PlayStation, and other things. But now we could now stream video games through the internet. So by 1998, it looks like books were gone. Books are just going to disappear completely. And then all of a sudden, this woman arrives. That's right, that's J.K. Rowling, and of course the book she's holding is the book series she wrote, which of course was Harry Potter. Now all of a sudden, 10 and 12-year-olds who looked like they were disappearing into the internet sphere were suddenly turning off their computers, turning off their PlayStations, picking up a book of like 800, 900 pages, and sitting down and reading. And I credit, as much as anybody, J.K. Rowling with saving the world's oldest mass media. And we'll talk more about books next time. Don't forget, your assignment, if you don't know what it is, play the video back, and I need it by Thursday at 8 p.m. All right, you guys take care. We'll talk to you soon.